Ever stand in the kitchen, hand a recipe in one hand, a half-filled bowl in the other, and wonder if that immersion blender you're eyeing will actually save you time or just sit in a drawer collecting dust? I get it. You don't want to drop a few $100 on a gadget that ends up being more hassle than help. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I started looking at handheld blenders, the first thing I asked myself was how often I actually use a stick-type tool versus a traditional countertop processor. I'm the kind of cook who throws together a quick tomato soup, a handful of smoothies, and an occasional homemade mayo, all in under 30 minutes. The Braun MultiQuick 7 promises single-hand operation, an extra power blade, and a splash guard that claims to keep the countertop clean. Those three promises line up exactly with the pain points that keep me from reaching for a stick blender in the first place: juggling a pot and a whisk, worrying about hot liquid splattering, and feeling underpowered when I try to crush frozen fruit. The first thing I noticed after pulling the unit out of the box is the ergonomic grip. Braun has shaped the handle so you can comfortably hold it while you're stirring a pot on the stove. That matters because you're literally using the same hand to control speed and to guide the blade through the food. The click-and attachment system is also surprisingly smooth. The basic blending shaft slides on with a firm push, then the extra chopping disc clicks into place with a tactile snap. It takes less than a second to switch from pureeing soup to chopping herbs, which is the kind of speed you want when you're juggling a few steps at once. I put the MultiQuick 7 through 3 typical day-to-day scenarios to see whether those marketing claims hold up. First, I tackled a classic butternut squash soup. I sautéed onions and carrots, added diced squash, covered everything with broth, and let it simmer. When the squash was tender, I lowered the pot onto the burner, turned the blender on low, and slowly immersed the shaft. The extra power blade really does make a difference here. Within 15 seconds, the soup went from chunky to silky without any noticeable strain on the motor. The splash guard performed exactly as advertised. No droplets escaped the pot, even when I pushed the blade a little deeper to reach the bottom. The result was a velvety consistency that would have taken a countertop blender a full minute of blending and a lot more cleanup. Second, I tried a quick vinaigrette. I combined olive oil, vinegar, a spoonful of mustard, a pinch of salt, and a handful of fresh basil. Normally, I would whisk this by hand, but the Immersion blender emulsifies the mixture in a single pulse. The blade creates a fine, stable emulsion that stays glossy for hours. The single-hand operation shines here because you can hold the jar steady with your free hand, dip the blender, and pull it out with a quick flick. No splatter, no broken eggs, just a smooth dressing ready to drizzle over a salad. Third, I wanted to see how it handles frozen fruit for smoothies. I tossed a cup of frozen berries, a banana, a splash of almond milk, and a scoop of protein powder into a tall mixing jug. The chopping disc, not the blending shaft, is what you'd use for this job, and that's where the extra blade for extra power claim gets tested. I engaged the disc, gave it a few seconds of pulsing, and the berries broke down into a coarse puree. Switching back to the blending shaft, the smoothie finished in another 10 seconds. The motor never sounded strained, and the finished drink had no large ice chunks, something you often get when you rely on a standard stick blender without a dedicated chopping attachment. Now, let's talk about the downsides, because every tool has a sweet spot and a set of compromises. The MultiQuick 7's motor, while certainly adequate for home cooking volumes, isn't built for industrial-scale tasks. If you regularly process kilograms of dough or large batches of nut butter, you'll quickly feel the limits of a handheld motor. The capacity of the food processor attachment is also modest. The bowl fits comfortably on a standard countertop, but can hold more than a couple of cups at a time. That means you'll be doing multiple cycles if you're making a big batch of salsa or a large pot of puree. Cleaning is another practical consideration. The blade assembly detaches with a click, which is great, but the small crevices around the extra chopping disc can trap bits of onion or herb if you don't rinse promptly. A quick run under the tap usually does the trick, but for those who hate hand washing, it adds a tiny extra step compared to a fully detachable, dishwasher-safe countertop processor. Who should buy this? If you're a home cook who values speed, likes to keep the countertop clear, and often needs to blend, whisk, or chop in one go, the Braun MultiQuick 7 is a solid fit. Its single-hand design makes it especially appealing.